Are you looking for a fun fall getaway with something for everyone? In today's episode, we're going to take you to the Parke County Covered Bridge Festival. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris.
And this is the second half adventure. Welcome. We'll give you the lowdown on the 9 communities in this festival and what you can find there.
And then stick around till the end for our 2 best tips to help you start planning your visit to the Parke County Covered Bridge Festival.
The Parke County Covered Bridge Festival is the largest festival in Indiana. It's been going on since 1957. It starts the second Friday of October and lasts for 10 days. And over 1.5 million people, it's estimated, attend this event every year.
Parke County is in the west central part of Indiana. It's a relatively easy travel distance from the cities of Indianapolis, Chicago, St. Louis, Louisville, Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Detroit.
Now, for our viewers who are from Dublin, it's going to be a little harder commute.
More planning will be needed.
At the festival, you'll see beautiful fall foliage, history, arts and crafts, food, and the stars of the festival, the bridges. No, not those bridges. The covered bridges.
There are 31 covered bridges in Parke County, most of any county in the U.S., although Indiana does rank 4th in the U.S. for states with the most covered bridges after Pennsylvania, Vermont, and Ohio. At one time, more than 50 bridges existed. The remaining bridges, 31, date from 1856 to 1920, with an exception. The bridge in Bridgeton was rebuilt in 2006, so it counts as a new bridge, even though there was an older one existing at one point.
Now, they originally built covered bridges because of the fact that bridges were made of timber, and the covered bridge protected the timber bridge and made it last longer. However, once steel came into use to make bridges, the covered bridges, many of them fell into disrepair. There are less and less every year.
So due to the terrain of this part of Indiana, there are many streams and creeks, so these bridges were a necessity to open up travel and commerce to the area.
There are 21 bridges that you can still drive over, but 10 of them now are closed to vehicular traffic and are only available to walk through.
So the Parke County Covered Bridge Festival is spread through 9 communities in Parke County, each with their own signature specialty. The communities are roughly 10 to 30 minutes apart, and you'll be driving on mostly rural roads. Some are paved, some are gravel, but they're all relatively close.
The first community we're introducing you to is Rockville, the headquarters of the festival, and it's the county seat of Parke County. So the action takes place around the courthouse square. Nonprofit organizations have booths with food around the courthouse, while on the sidewalks around the courthouse are white tents, a multitude of them, with handicrafts, food, and a wide variety of wares for sale. There are different bus tours leaving from the courthouse square, a couple of different tours, sometimes as many as 4, that will take you to different covered bridges and different communities.
Or you're welcome to drive it on your own. You can spend as much time as you want at each community, see what you want to see, and want to get on to the next one, you can do that if you're driving a car. The tour will be a little more regimented.
Also in Rockville is the historic Ritz Theater, which has been continuously operating for 110 years. There's a visitor center in the old train depot and a historical museum. I've heard there's also an old jail bed and breakfast where you can actually sleep in a cell.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either.
And they have a winery downstairs called the Drunk Tank Winery. That might be worth looking into. The next community is Billy Creek Village, and it is a recreated historic village that is just east of Rockville. It includes 3 covered bridges, a school, a church, a general store, a print shop, and a governor's house. Now, the print shop and the general store are actually operational. We had quite a good time when we stopped there talking with print shop Paul, and we also stopped in the general store and talked with some of the staff that's managing the village.
We arrived pretty early in the morning, and so there weren't big crowds at that point. I thought it was very cool because it was like stepping back in time when you look down through the street of this village and the old stores and the shops.
The current ownership has made it a 501c3 nonprofit, and it's being brought back into use after falling into disrepair and being abandoned for a number of years. It's a work in progress right now, and the monies that are received help support the restoration and maintenance of the buildings. They have a venue where they're hosting weddings, and they do a Civil War encampment once a year.
Very historic.
Yes, it is.
Our next stop was Bloomingdale, just north of Rockville. It's the home of the Friends Meeting House, which is a Quaker church. They have homemade baskets, and you can shell and package your own popcorn. That's grown locally, I believe. They have homemade chicken and noodles, a variety of pie, which I'll get back to. Arguably the best apple butter in the county. Even brought some home. It was very good.
It was very good.
And the pie was homemade, you could tell. I asked if they had a rhubarb pie. This is in October, and the woman behind the table said, no, rhubarb is not a fall fruit, and we only use the fall fruits. So you know it's homemade at that point. It was very good. And all of the volunteers were just very friendly and willing to talk and answer any questions.
And I believe it was them that told us about the clay plant, which was a newly opened pottery studio just down the road. So we left there and headed to the clay plant, which was owned by Austin and Courtney Cook, who had grown up in the area and had returned to open this business. And it had just opened. They make beautiful pottery. They have a very nice studio. They also teach classes. Looked like they were off to a great start.
A beautiful new little shop, and they were just the nicest couple. Enjoyed talking with them. We encourage people to stop in and visit them.
The next town on our list is Bridgeton, which is one of the major towns in the festival. You used to be able to drive through Bridgeton during the festival, but the number of people has really caused that to be a safety issue. So when we were there, we were required to park outside the edge of town, and it's not far, it's not a large town, and walk into the town. As we walked through the first section, there were a lot of vendors with variety of homemade crafts. There was a food court, but the farther you got into town, then you got into the Scenic Historic District, which was beautiful. That included the Bridgeton Mill and the Covered Bridge, Pullum's General Store, which is open and had a lot of really fun things. The 1878 house, there was a log cabin called the Case Log Cabin, and the Bridgeton School was there. That was a really fascinating part of town. Again, it was like a small village set back in time.
There were demonstrations of how to make a homemade knife out of stone or bone. There were quite a few things to stop and see.
There was also live music as we were crossing the Covered Bridge. There was actually a fiddler playing. There were also some musicians playing down by the mill there. It lent a very festive air to the town there, I thought. In the small community of Rosedale, activities are located at the Civic Center, where there's a large quilt sale. They also have a large country market, offering a huge assortment of arts and crafts items, home-baked goods, noodles, and other country delights.
All good. The next stop would be Mansfield. It was our first stop on our first day, and it caught me off guard. I did not realize it would be such a bustling festival air. There were literally hundreds of vendors selling a wide range of goods. There was a cornucopia of festival food like elephant ears and fried everything, I would guess. And not that I have anything against fried food. I do enjoy that. Mansfield's also home to the historic Mansfield Roller Mill. And then, of course, the reason why everybody goes to Mansfield is to take a look at their bridge. And all of this helps to benefit the restoration and the continued preservation of the covered bridge.
Next on our list is the tiny town of Mecca. Now, Mecca has arts and crafts for sale around their small covered bridge. They also have a one-room schoolhouse there, and the thing Mecca is best known for is the Mecca Tavern, home of the biggest and best fried tenderloin sandwich in the area. And it is the unofficial state food of Indiana, fried tenderloin sandwiches. We ordered 2 tenderloin dinners, and the bartender said, "Are you sure you don't want to split one sandwich and then each have an order of fries?" And we said, "Oh no." And she said, "But they're big."
Or as big as my head.
So what did you just say about what we should have done?
Listen to Sherry.
Because she told us we should only order one between the two of us. I swear I was eating that sandwich for 3 days. It was so huge.
It was really good.
It was probably the best pork tenderloin I've ever had. But that's not to be missed.
Nope. The next site is Montezuma. It features the Wabash and Erie Canal tours. The Wabash and Erie Canal was the longest canal ever created in the Western Hemisphere. They began work in 1832, and this canal connected the Great Lakes from Lake Erie to the Ohio River, which allowed shipping to continue on to the Mississippi. The canal ended in 1874 because of the new use of railroads, and the bit of irony connected with that was what?
Was the fact that the canal boats were used to ship the construction goods to build the railroads that put them out of business.
That's ironic, all right.
It is. Also in Montezuma were antiques and homemade crafts and demonstrations. They're famous for their roast hog, and we stopped by on a morning, and the homemade crullers that the Catholic Church made smelled delicious, but the line was so long that we couldn't wait for them. We had other places we had to be that day. Darn. They smelled really good.
They did.
But we did have the iron pot ham and beans, which were on a really interesting contraption. They were on a metal track in an iron pot, and the iron pot was on wheels on the track so that they could push the iron pot over the fire. It was a wood fire, and then if it got too hot, they could push it back on the track so the beans wouldn't burn. I thought that was ingenious. The ham and beans were delicious.
They were. And a slice of cornbread.
Yes, and cornbread. So that was to benefit the girls' softball team. And that was one of the really nice things about most of the foodstuffs in these small towns, was that they all benefited really nice groups in these small towns.
Yep.
The final site on our list was Tangier, and things take place in Tangier at the community center. Now, when we parked it, we found the remnants of the old schoolhouse, including the bell, and once we got inside, we saw that there were class photos dating back to the 1930s there, which we thought were very interesting. That's also the site of a time capsule that was buried in 1916. It was dug up in 2016, and items were added to it, and it will be opened again in 2116, which we thought was amazing.
We probably won't see that.
Probably not. There are a lot of local handmade crafts. They had a gentleman demonstrating how brooms are handmade, and they had an artist there painting that people could watch while she painted. But what Tangier is actually known for is what, Chris?
Tangier is noted for its world-famous buried beef.
Once you get the meat down in there, it's 1,000 pounds. We'll lay burlap on top of the meat, and then we'll lay 2 steel plates down, and then we'll put 4 foot of sand on top. And then we'll let it cook in the ground for 15 hours.
It's tended round the clock by volunteers for the 10 days of the festival each year. And this is one of my favorite stops because it is all local people from this small town volunteering for all of it. There's a lot of work involved. There's just a great sense of community here.
The beef was delicious.
It was very moist. It was fresh beef, nice little smoky taste to it. The beef without the sauce was very, very good.
Yeah, I had the one with the barbecue sauce. I thought it was excellent as well. Yeah. They also had a wonderful assortment of desserts.
Yes, once again,
homemade pie.
Homemade pie.
Can't beat it. So, as promised, we're going to give you our top 2 tips so you can start planning your trip to Parke County Covered Bridge Festival.
Number 1, if you can only go for one day, take a bus tour out of Rockville. They will go to several bridges and several communities, and the trips usually last around 3 hours. Once again, if you want to do this on your own, you can, but if you're only there for one day and want to try to see as much as you can, a tour would probably be a good option for you.
Tip number 2, if you can go for more than one day, do it. But make your accommodation reservations early. Some people book a year in advance for their accommodations for the Covered Bridge Festival. Now, there's a wide variety of choices available, from motels and inns to cabins and campgrounds. And we'll put a link down below to the accommodation page on the festival website, so you can get started on that. But next month, we'll bring you detailed information, the top 10 things you need to know about planning your trip to Parke County.
And if you have particular questions, let us know in our comments section, and we'll do our best to answer them for you.
Until then, take a look at these videos, and we'll see you next time on this second half adventure.
Thanks for watching.